Uncensored. Welcome to COASTER-net Uncut.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of COASTER-net Uncut. I'm, of course, Andrew Varchek from Chicago, Illinois, joined once again by Mr. Rumor Mill himself, Mr. Let's Figure It Out, Danny Miller. How is it going?
I'll tell you what, I'm excited, Andy, because as you might be able to tell by, the unusual lighting in our rooms here, it is not our usual evening, late night recording time at like 10, 11 o'clock at night. I just got home from work about a half an hour ago or so. And, Andy, I actually called you today over my lunch break because there is something that we needed to talk about now. This is sort of like a crossover right now between a typical Uncut episode and a COASTER-net update because this is so important that we need to talk about it right now, and we need to get it out to our viewers right now because King's Dominion shared a second teaser image, which what we assume is related to their 2018 attraction. About a week or so ago, a couple weeks ago, they let the first teaser image out, and we're going to break down these two images for you real quick and what we think they mean and what other people are saying they mean. But we didn't feel it was really necessary just yet then because it was still pretty early on. But this second one that came out today immediately caught my eye when I scrolled through it over my lunch break on Facebook, and I immediately texted you and said, hey, we need to talk right now. And I gave you a call from my office and said, hey, we need to talk about this tonight because there is something else going on here. There's really more coming, and there's really more going on than what at least what we think. So why don't we back up a second and we'll talk about why don't you tell the people about the first image that came out, a week or two ago, and then we'll go into the second image and then we'll get into it.
Well, I think you have to really start with last year's end of the King's Dominion announcement season where they announced 3 Snoopy rides. People were really upset by the way it went down. But at the end of it, they said there's really more coming. Okay, keep that in mind. Keep that exact terminology in mind, because even though you might have heard it back then, you might be reminded of something very recently here. But let's get to this first image. We see clearly an 816 with the Eiffel Tower next to it, with this very Matrix style red code. Very. And
you can see the word Grove, you can see the word Snoopy somewhere in there, you can see 2018, you can see different words, and then there's other things that don't really make words, but then, maybe it's an anagram type thing, but those 3 words in particular, Snoopy, Grove, and 2018 are the ones that are most easily identifiable.
Now, but what's more interesting, I think, is that you have a caption to go along with the photo, and the caption says, 816 period, just remember ... things aren't always what they seem. So a lot of people naturally jump to the conclusion that 816 would be the date of the announcement, August 16th.
Right.
Makes sense with how these things normally play out. That's also National Roller Coaster Day
and that's something you pointed out that I haven't heard anyone else say, and that's something I didn't realize until you said it. People are forgetting that is National Roller Coaster Day.
Yeah, so that's a big day. It's right around when Cedar Fair typically announces too. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that that's the date. But to take this a step further, that I want to tie this back. And you and I have talked a while about how can you make these teaser campaigns get even bigger? That we said back for Gatekeeper, we had the dropping of the website. Then for Banshee, you had the fake website. Then for Mystic Timbers, you had all this stuff all around the park. For Fury,
you had the fake website and the fake logos and the fake T-shirts, and you had all this stuff. And you and I have been saying for years exactly what you said. How can they keep outdoing themselves here? And you came up with, we talked about how they could do it. And you came up when we were discussing these before we went on here, you came up with the exact answer that we're going to give here.
Yeah, that when, and everyone was wondering when they did the first Mean Street trailer, and at the end of it they said they're coming, and everyone's like, oh my God, it's going to be a racing coaster, it's going to be a dueling coaster. Well, I think if you
they're
look at
wild and unruly.
Yeah. I think if you look at the track layout, it's not a racing coaster. It's not a dueling coaster. It probably won't even have two trains on the track at the same time unless they do something funky. But what I do think is happening here is I do think that they are tying together all of the Cedar Fair announcements this year and putting them – we're getting pieces from different places. So their coming ties directly back to there's really more coming. They refers to the two RMCs. And I'm going to throw one more piece out there at you, Danny Miller, right now. I'm going to throw this out to you. 816 also happens to be the area code of Kansas City.
The records show, Andy, that about a month and a half ago, we sat here at our very desks and we said we thought Worlds of Fun was the dark horse, and the dark horse park that nobody was talking about as the only park in the chain that made sense to get a major addition, with Cedar Point getting a roller coaster, with Kings Dominion getting a roller coaster, thinking that California's Great America is going to get a roller coaster. Everyone talked about Knott's Berry Farm as the fourth park, and we said it didn't make sense. We said it didn't make sense for a T-Rex. We said it didn't make sense for a Raptor. We said it was too small of a plot for Boomerang. We didn't anticipate Knott's Berry Farm ever being the answer. You and I immediately jumped on the Worlds of Fun bandwagon, and this first teaser, everyone's jumping on August 16th, and nobody has taken into consideration the fact that 816 is the Kansas City area code and the area code if you want to call Worlds of Fun. So it may mean National Roller Coaster Day. It may mean August 16th. But if you're talking about a date, it really should be 0816, or it should have some separation there. 816 by itself immediately lends itself to be the Kansas City area code, and this ties into your theory that all of these announcements are going to be tied together. So we anticipate that there will be two more teasers before the announcement, and that the other two will tie in to the two missing roller coasters, because like we talked about, we know we're getting 4 roller coasters in the Cedar Fair chain. Let's assume that we're correct and that we're going to get Cedar Point, Kings Dominion, Worlds of Fun, and California's Great America. Let's assume for a minute that those are the 4. We've got the Kansas City one taken care of, 816, and the Eiffel Tower is kind of in there to tie it back to Kings Dominion, because they're the ones doing this teaser campaign. So the images are going to tie back to Kings Dominion, but then the words, if you will, are going to tie back to each of the different parks that are getting the roller coasters. So should we talk about the second one now? Because the second one has Snoopy. You can see Snoopy there in his jacket with his arm extended. That's tying back to last year's Kings Dominion announcement that everyone got in a raging fit over, that it was the Planet Snoopy edition. And the words on this one are 20 better than 4. But also notice that there are periods after the 20 and the 4. So it shouldn't be read as 20 better than 4. It should be read as 20 better than 4. There's a pause there. So and people are talking about the upside down T. We think that has something to do with maybe the conversion of the 2 wood coasters. And, maybe something along those lines.
It looks like an iBox track. Like if you look at it.
Yeah, it kind of does.
It kind of looks like iBox track is what it looks like to me.
And some people are talking how the 20 better than 4 might point to 20 inversions or an increase of 24, whether it's height or degrees or something. But this is what sort of you and I came up with here. We know that there's 4 roller coasters. So if you say 20 better than 4, that would imply that there's 20-something that might be better than the 4 roller coasters. So we think if they're going to tie all these together, perhaps the entire chain as a whole, which if you go by the amusement parks and the water parks that they kind of separate as properties, they separate Cedar Point Shores from Cedar Point, and they separate Knott's Soak City from Knott's Berry Farm. Wildwater Kingdom is kind of lumped into Dorney Park by their count, so is Carolina Harbor and Soak City, Kings Island, and Oceans of Fun is lumped into Worlds of Fun. But if you consider the 13 properties, we know that 4 of them are going to get roller coasters. So that leaves 9, assuming none of those properties get anything else. Would leave 9 other properties to do 16 rides. Carowinds just put in a 4 flat ride package. Yeah. We know that they'll do flat rides. You could very, very easily do 16 other attractions in the 9 other parks. So we think that 20 better than 4 is a reference to the 4 roller coasters, and that there's really more coming, and that there's 20 attractions throughout the entire chain that will be announced at some point, most, if not all of which will be done on National Roller Coaster Day 8/16.
Now, but
you have one other point about you have one other point here about the second teaser that came up today and how that relates back to the 4 roller coasters.
Yeah, so this one, when you look at it, but you typed in, so if you type into Google right now, 20 better than 4, you get, the first thing that pops up is a Wikipedia article that says visual acuity, that is also commonly abbreviated as what, Danny Miller?
VA. So visual acuity, it refers to your visual clarity, 20/20 vision, if you will. That is your visual acuity. So a 20/20 vision, right, is perfect. So visual acuity is commonly abbreviated VA, which is Virginia. Now, we didn't talk about this, but if 20/20 vision is perfect, what have we been talking about? We've been talking about the 5-year plan, the 5-year vision, and how it's somehow related back to 20 in 2020 at Cedar Point. Now, we're not quite there yet, so we think that the 20 better than 4 with the visual acuity abbreviation VA relates back to Virginia and relates back to the King's Dominion coaster. So we've got the Worlds of Fun coaster, we've got the Virginia coaster. So you and I, and we looked at other things. We looked at the 204 area code. That's in Manitoba in Canada, nowhere near Canada's Wonderland. We even flipped the 8/16 upside down and did 9/18. That takes you to somewhere in Oklahoma near Tulsa, so it's not even near another major park. So we feel pretty good about 816 also being a tie to Worlds of Fun, and 20 better than 4. Googling that, giving you visual acuity, VA, Virginia, could be the tie back to the King's Dominion coaster. And the Cedar Point teasers, they're coming, they're wild and unruly, is not referring to multiple Cedar Point coasters. We think it's referring to the greater whole of the entire chain that is being lumped in to this whole one massive teaser campaign. And we're starting to see California's Great America start to tease things. We saw that there are stakes in the ground, 2018, SR1. You and I haven't talked about that much yet, but there's tire tracks going there. So, maybe we're talking about a launch coaster there or something. I don't know. That's something maybe we'll have to cover in a different episode. But I think that we feel pretty good saying that it's possible we'll get 2 more teaser campaigns out of King's Dominion, one of which is going to somehow tie into Cedar Point, and the other of which is going to somehow tie to California's Great America. And maybe when we get the California's Great America one, maybe it ties into these tire tracks and these stakes that we're seeing appear in the ground over in the Inverta Garden, as they like to call it there. So you and I think this is much, much bigger than what people are making it out to be right now. We think this is one giant pie, and people are taking little slices of the pie, but I think you and I are looking at the bigger picture and going back to the 5-year-old question, really, of how do they make these teaser campaigns better? How do they outdo themselves? And the simple answer is you make it bigger than the park. You make it all one collective thing.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the two RMC coasters going in next year have similar themes, kind of like, and I'm not saying the same exact name like the two Intimidators did with I-305 and I-232. I'm not saying that they'll have the same exact name, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have a very similar theme to them. Because the problem I was struggling with, I'm like, well, how do you put two coasters that are very similar in style into two different parks? Mean Streak is obviously going to be the bigger of the two, obviously going to be the more impressive of the two. How do you still keep the King's Dominion one from just feeling like a smaller version? And maybe it's how they did it with the Intimidators. They tied them together. They gave them the same name. They gave them the same theme. And people like to talk about the two and compare them. Most people say I-305 is better, but there's some people that like I-232 better too. So, that goes into it too. So I would, like you said, I think we're going to see two more teasers from King's Dominion. I think it'll be very interesting to see if you can tie them to Sandusky and to California's Great America. And I wouldn't be surprised if the other ones are tying back the other way too. I haven't, like you said, I haven't really thought about the SR1 and the 2018 yet.
We haven't talked about that much because that just came up, in the last day as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of new as well.
Just a quick search there. The only thing is there's a lot of boats with an SR1 for sale in Sandusky right now. I don't know if that means anything, but it is a type of boat. And there's quite a few for sale in Sandusky currently, according to Google. So I don't know.
Water coaster for California's Great America.
Oh,
we talked about that a long time ago as well.
Oh, my goodness. I didn't even think of that.
You and I called water coaster. Didn't we call water coaster at California's Great America? And then, Cannonin for Worlds of Fun or something?
Yeah, and recently I was thinking that was going to be flipped. With Cannonin going to California's Great America with the whole tire tracks and the launch aspect to it. I kind of felt like that was going to be Cannonin, but then again, maybe they're throwing back and forth again. So if we're looking at this as a collective announcement, maybe the tire tracks at California's Great America have nothing to do with California's Great America. Maybe it has to do with Worlds of Fun again. Maybe it's all tying together here.
Or maybe the water coaster is going to Worlds of Fun and the SR1 is tying back to the other one. We have that's what would make something like, and again, you and I are suggesting that this is what's going on, and we think that there's a good chance this could be what's going on, but we have no idea really what, and if that's the case, we have no idea what is calling to its own park, what's referencing a different park. We really have no idea what they might be concocting here, and that's, again, these teaser campaigns have become so easy to figure out over time because it's always been one thing to figure out. Whereas if they made all of these things part of the same collective teaser, it's going to be impossible for us to try and figure out what is going where.
Yeah.
When all the different parks start teasing different things.
Well, it's fun. I'll tell you that. It's fun to do. That we've had great success in the past. We've had some great failures in the past too.
You know what? Just for solidarity, right here before we finish up, I'm going to bring up the U.S. trademark office and I'm going to do a trademark search because I don't know of anyone who's done one recently. I'm going to see if there's anything new right here live on the. Andy, you and I talked a little bit. Before we went on the air about what we were going to talk about, but we did not do a trademark search. So
no.
This is real time here. So I'm going to do Cedar Point Park first, because that's one that's been done in the past. That's where Val Raven turned up. EM Field.
And like you were saying, as you do that, just in the past, I was spot on with Fury, that I figured that out pretty quickly. As more and more clues piled up, I figured out the Hornet theme, the bee theme, all that stuff that tied back to the city of Charlotte. Obviously, our big failure was last year with Valraven. That we,
Right.
we went down we went down the Lake Erie monster rabbit hole, and we never came back from that one. So but this one seems. I also think that the Matrix. I think having that Matrix theming to these teasers, saying that there's a code here, saying that there's something more, saying that like when it says that it's not what it seems it is. I think they're specifically telling us that this teaser campaign isn't exactly what it seems, and there's more to it. There's really more coming.
So here we go. The most recent one, Cedar Fair filed on May 31st, 2017. For Cedar Fair, there's a new one for Hang Time. For amusement park rides, puzzles, toys, electronic action toys, light-up toys, plastic pennants, clothing, T-shirts, picture frames, souvenir sport models. So Hang Time is a name they've used in the past. The old Dorney Park Top Spin was called Hang Time. It's possible that maybe they're going to go back and use that name for a flat ride package. I don't know if that's necessarily a roller coaster name. I think, but that could be potentially a flat ride name.
It could be
maybe if.
It could be for Hurler if they're really going to have all these inversions on it, and given the height, it looks like it might be kind of slow.
If they do like the Skyhawk thing at Canada's Wonderland, one of those rides, or like this whole Soaring Timbers, if they do more of those. The ledge is still up there and the same sort of thing, non-metal beach safes, pins, amusement park rides, pennants, clothing, souvenir sport, picture frames. It's all listed as the same thing. So the ledge and Hang Time both have the same thing. And let's keep in mind here, the other one that is still live here is Centurion. Centurion is still a live trademark. A lot of times when things don't get used, they end up becoming dead. The regular name Fury is still live without the 325. That is still a live one.
And let me say that Centurion Worlds of Fun has some action going on towards the front of the park right now too. That there's some clearing going on. We've said that before, and we kind of said Centurion sounds like a ride that should be at the front of the park. Keeping watch and all that stuff. So.
There's a lot to digest here, Andy, and I think you and I think we've dug deeper than other people. I think people aren't digging deep enough, and I think people are taking the easy answer.
Yes.
And I don't think the parks would give us. I don't think they would give us this much if it was so easy to figure out. I don't think they would say they are coming and just mean, it's a racing coaster. I don't think it's that simple. I think the Cedar Fair parks, anyway, are above that at this point. They've been too good with all the different teaser campaigns, and they've been too smart, and they've been too clever to just give us stuff that simply. I really do think that there is a lot more to consider here than what people are thinking. I think this is much, much bigger than King's Dominion. I really do think that this could be the chain as a whole here. And we're going to keep digesting this stuff here as it comes in.
So we'll keep you updated as we get more and more clues out there. Hopefully they'll start lining up along with what we've said here, and that we'll look like complete geniuses come August 16th. So as always, thank you for joining us here on COASTER-net Uncut. I'm of course Andrew Barczyk from Chicago, Illinois.
I'm Danny Miller from Binghamton, New York.
And as always, ride on, Ride Warriors.
See you next time, guys.